The sun was shining brightly in the sky, casting warm rays over the lush green forest. Jamal loved exploring this part of the woods. It was his favorite escape from the busy city life. He would often come here to clear his mind, to be surrounded by nature's beauty, and to enjoy the peace it brought him. And if you like the story, remember to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. But today, something felt different. As he walked along the familiar trail, he sensed a strange energy in the air, almost like a warning. Suddenly, a loud, desperate screech echoed through the trees. Jamal froze, his heart racing. It sounded like an animal in distress. What could that be, he wondered, his curiosity piqued. Without thinking, he began to run towards the sound, dodging branches and leaping over fallen logs. He felt an urgency that he couldn't explain, as if something important was calling out to him. As he sprinted deeper into the woods, the screeches grew louder. Jamal pushed through thick bushes and finally reached a clearing where he spotted a deep, old well. The well was surrounded by tall grass and looked like it had been forgotten by time. Jamal's eyes widened in horror as he saw a small monkey struggling to stay afloat in the murky water below. Its tiny arms flailed desperately, and panic washed over Jamal. "Oh no," he shouted, rushing to the edge of the well. "Hang on, little guy." The monkey's eyes met his, filled with fear and desperation. Jamal could feel its pain as if it were his own. He knew he had to help. Without a second thought, Jamal knelt down, leaning over the edge. The well was deep, and the water was dark and slimy. He could see the monkey sinking lower and lower. "I can't let you drown," he shouted, trying to reassure the creature. He glanced around, searching for something to use as a rope or a way to pull the monkey out. Suddenly, he spotted a long branch lying on the ground nearby. That might work, he thought, quickly grabbing it. He tested its strength, feeling the sturdy wood beneath his hands. Taking a deep breath, he leaned further over the well, extending the branch toward the monkey. "Grab on," he called out. The monkey hesitated for a moment, but then its instinct to survive kicked in. With a quick flick, it reached for the branch and clung to it with its tiny paws. Jamal's heart soared with hope. "I've got you. Hold tight." With all his might, Jamal began to pull the branch back, but the monkey was heavy, and the water was dragging it down. "Come on, little buddy. You can do it," Jamal urged, straining against the weight. He could feel his muscles burning, but he refused to give up. Just when he thought he might lose his grip, he saw the monkey's head break the surface. "Yes. You're almost there." With one final pull, he managed to get the monkey to the edge of the well. It clambered up the branch and onto the ground beside him, shaking off the water. Jamal laughed in relief, but that joy was short-lived. As the monkey sat there, catching its breath, Jamal suddenly heard shouting behind him. He turned to see a group of men approaching, their faces twisted with anger. They were white, wearing dirty jeans and old t-shirts, and they didn't look friendly. Jamal's heart sank. He knew from experience that not everyone appreciated him helping animals, especially those who looked different from them. "Hey! What are you doing?" one of the men yelled, his voice harsh. "You think you can just rescue a monkey? It's just a dumb animal." The others laughed, a cruel sound that made Jamal's skin crawl. Jamal took a step back, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach. He wanted to stand up for himself and the monkey, but their taunts cut deep. He felt the weight of their words, a reminder of the discrimination he often faced. "It's not just a monkey," he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "It's a living being that deserves to be saved." The men stepped closer, their laughter fading as they glared at him. "Why do you care about some stupid animal?" another man sneered, crossing his arms. Jamal could feel the hostility radiating from them. They were not just angry about the monkey, they were upset that he, a black man, had the audacity to save something they deemed unworthy. Jamal felt a surge of anger mixed with fear. He knew that if he let them intimidate him, they would win. "Because I can," he shouted back, his voice rising. "Every life matters, including hers." He gestured toward the monkey, who had climbed onto his shoulder, seeking comfort and protection. The men exchanged glances, their expressions darkening. "You think you're a hero, huh? Saving a monkey," one of them spat. "You should be ashamed of yourself, wasting your time on something like that instead of doing something useful." Jamal took a deep breath, trying to keep his cool. He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, but he wouldn't let them see him crumble. "It's not a waste," he replied firmly. "Helping animals is important. They rely on us to protect them from people like you." The lead man stepped closer, his voice low and threatening. "You don't belong here. You don't know what you're doing." Jamal could sense the danger in his words. It was a familiar feeling, being judged not just for his actions, but for who he was. The monkey on his shoulder chirped softly, sensing Jamal's tension. He patted its head gently, trying to calm both himself and the frightened animal. "I'm not going anywhere," Jamal declared, standing tall. "I'll do whatever it takes to protect this monkey. You can't intimidate me." Just then, the monkey jumped off his shoulder and scurried back toward the well, its instincts kicking in again. Jamal's heart raced. "No, come back," he shouted, but the monkey had found something in the dirt that caught its attention. The men laughed, seeing the monkey's antics as a chance to mock Jamal even more. "Look at that. Your pet is going to get itself in trouble," one of them jeered. Jamal felt a mix of panic and anger. He was determined to prove them wrong, to show them that his actions had meaning. As he rushed toward the monkey, Jamal couldn't help but think about how unfair it was that he was being judged for wanting to help. These men had no idea what he had faced in life, how hard he had fought to rise above the negativity that surrounded him. And now, they were attacking him for saving a life that couldn't defend itself. He reached the monkey just in time to see it digging furiously in the dirt. "What are you looking for?" he asked, kneeling beside it. To his surprise, the monkey suddenly pulled out a small, shiny object buried in the ground. It was a silver keychain, glinting in the sunlight. Jamal blinked in shock, feeling a rush of curiosity. "Where did you find this?" he wondered aloud. The men behind him fell silent, their attention now drawn to what was happening. Jamal could feel their eyes on him, and he sensed a shift in the atmosphere. This might mean something, he thought, looking closer at the object. The monkey squeaked, holding the keychain in its tiny hands, and Jamal realized that there might be more to this rescue than he initially thought. Maybe this little creature had a story of its own, one that was tied to this keychain. As he turned to face the men, their expressions shifted from mockery to intrigue. Jamal felt a surge of confidence. "This monkey is special," he said, holding the keychain up for them to see. "And I'm not going to let you take that away from her." Suddenly, one of the men stepped forward, curiosity sparking in his eyes. "What's so special about that?" he asked, his tone softer than before. Jamal could feel the tension beginning to shift. Maybe, just maybe, he could turn this around. "This keychain might belong to someone," Jamal explained, glancing down at the monkey, who was now looking up at him, seemingly understanding the gravity of the moment. "It could be a clue to something important. We can't just ignore it." The men exchanged glances, their laughter fading into the background as they considered Jamal's words. It felt like a turning point. "Maybe you're right," the lead man said, sounding a bit hesitant. "But it's still just a monkey." Jamal took a step closer, his voice steady. "And it's still my responsibility to protect her. We all have a part to play, even in small acts of kindness." At that moment, Jamal knew that saving the monkey was about more than just one life. It was about standing up against the discrimination he faced every day and proving that compassion knows no boundaries. The monkey was a symbol of resilience, and together, they would find a way to break free from the judgment that threatened to hold them down. Jamal had always loved exploring the woods near his home. And if you like the story, remember to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. The trees towered above him like giants, and the sounds of nature surrounded him. Birds chirped happily, and the rustle of leaves filled the air. But today, something felt different. As he hiked deeper into the forest, an unusual noise caught his attention. It was a frantic screeching, a desperate sound that made his heart race. "What is that?" he muttered to himself, his curiosity piqued. He followed the noise, weaving through trees and stepping over fallen branches. The closer he got, the more urgent the cries became. Jamal picked up his pace, excitement and concern bubbling in his chest. Finally, he reached a clearing, and his eyes widened in shock. There, in a deep well, a small monkey flailed in the water, desperately trying to keep its head above the surface. Jamal felt his breath catch in his throat. The poor creature looked terrified, its little arms flailing as it struggled. Without a second thought, Jamal rushed toward the well. He crouched down, peering over the edge, and his heart sank. The monkey was drowning. He could see its wide, pleading eyes staring up at him, and something deep inside him stirred. "Hang on, little buddy," he shouted, adrenaline pumping through his veins. Jamal looked around, desperate for something to help. The well was too deep for him to reach down with his hands. He spotted a long, sturdy branch lying nearby. Grabbing it, he carefully extended it toward the monkey. "Grab on," he called out, his voice steady despite the chaos swirling around him. The monkey hesitated for a moment, as if it was trying to understand what was happening. Then, with a sudden burst of energy, it lunged forward and grabbed the branch with both hands. Jamal felt a surge of hope as he pulled the branch back, slowly lifting the frightened creature out of the water. But just as the monkey was about to reach solid ground, Jamal heard loud footsteps behind him. He turned to see a group of 3 men approaching, their faces twisted with scorn. They were white, and their sneers made Jamal's stomach churn. He felt a wave of anger wash over him. What were they doing here? "Hey, what are you doing?" one of the men shouted, stepping closer. He was tall and muscular, with tattoos snaking down his arms. The other 2 men flanked him, looking equally menacing. Jamal could see their eyes glinting with mockery. "You really gonna save that stupid monkey? Just let it drown." Jamal gritted his teeth, trying to focus on the task at hand. "This monkey needs help. I can't just leave it," he shot back, trying to keep his voice calm. The monkey was still clinging to the branch, its little body trembling. "Why do you care about a monkey, anyway?" the tall man sneered. "You could be doing something useful, you know. Like staying out of trouble." He laughed, and the other men joined in, their laughter ringing out like a cruel melody in the peaceful forest. Jamal felt his heart race. It wasn't just the men's words that stung, it was the way they treated him. He knew they didn't think he belonged here, just like they didn't think he should be helping the monkey. It was a reminder of the discrimination he faced every day. The men saw a black man trying to save a creature they deemed worthless, and it angered him. "Just back off," Jamal shouted, his patience wearing thin. He focused on the monkey, pulling it up inch by inch. "I'm almost there, little guy." The monkey let out another desperate screech, and with one final tug, Jamal pulled it to safety. The monkey landed on the ground with a soft thud, panting and soaked but alive. Jamal let out a breath he didn't know he was holding, his heart swelling with relief. But the moment of victory was short-lived. The tall man stepped forward, glaring down at Jamal. "You think you're some kind of hero, huh?" he spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "You're wasting your time. That monkey is nothing." Jamal stood tall, refusing to let their words intimidate him. "It doesn't matter if it's a monkey or a person. Every life is worth saving," he replied firmly, feeling the fire of determination within him. The men exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from amusement to annoyance. "You're really gonna take a stand for a monkey?" one of them scoffed. "You must have a lot of time on your hands." Jamal could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. He wanted to shout back, to let them know how wrong they were. But he knew that wouldn't help. Instead, he turned his attention back to the monkey, which was now sitting up, trembling but alive. "Hey there, little fella," Jamal said softly, crouching down to the monkey's level. "You're safe now. I've got you." The monkey looked up at him, its big eyes wide with uncertainty. Jamal reached out a hand, and the monkey tentatively leaned forward, sniffing his fingers. Suddenly, the men burst into laughter again. "Look at that! A monkey and a black guy! What a pair!" the tall man shouted, his voice echoing through the trees. The other men joined in, their laughter harsh and cutting. Jamal's heart sank as he felt the weight of their scorn. He could feel his hands clenching into fists, but he took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. "You guys really need to find better things to do," he said, his voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside him. "This monkey deserves a chance." "Whatever," the tall man sneered. "You think you're some kind of savior? Good luck with that." With a wave of his hand, he motioned for the others to follow him. They turned to leave, but not before throwing one last glance back at Jamal. As they walked away, Jamal felt a mixture of relief and frustration. He had saved the monkey, but the encounter had left a bitter taste in his mouth. He turned to the little creature, which was still shivering in the grass. "Let's get you out of here," he said gently, reaching down to pick it up. The monkey looked up at him, and for a moment, Jamal felt a connection. It was as if they both understood each other, two beings fighting against the odds. He cradled the monkey in his arms, feeling its tiny heartbeat against his chest. With the monkey secure, Jamal started to walk back through the forest, feeling the cool breeze against his skin. But his thoughts were heavy. Why was it that some people felt entitled to belittle others? He knew it wasn't just about the monkey, it was about how society often treated him and others who looked like him. As he made his way back home, Jamal vowed to protect this little monkey, to give it the love and care it deserved. He felt a spark of determination. He wanted to show the world that kindness mattered, that every life was important. When he finally reached his house, he gently placed the monkey on the ground. It looked around, still cautious but clearly intrigued. Jamal smiled, feeling a sense of pride. "You're safe now," he reassured it. He hurried inside to grab some food and water for his new friend. He thought about how to name it, wanting something that represented its strength and resilience. As he prepared a small meal, he couldn't help but think about the men from earlier. They may have tried to put him down, but he knew he wouldn't let their words define him. After setting down the food, he watched as the monkey sniffed at the treats before eagerly diving in. Jamal chuckled, feeling a warmth in his heart. This little creature was a survivor, just like him. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the room, Jamal knew that this was just the beginning of their journey together. The monkey looked up at him, and for the first time, he felt a true sense of companionship. Together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, side by side. In that moment, Jamal realized that saving the monkey was about more than just rescuing it from the well. It was about finding strength in their shared struggles and lifting each other up in a world that often tried to keep them down. Jamal stood at the edge of the well, his heart racing. The little monkey was struggling in the dark, murky water, splashing desperately. The monkey's tiny hands waved in the air, pleading for help. Jamal felt a surge of urgency. He couldn't just stand there and watch. Without thinking, he leaned over the edge, reaching down with all his might. "Hold on, little buddy. I'm coming," he shouted, feeling adrenaline pumping through his veins. Just as he grabbed the monkey's paw, he heard the sound of footsteps behind him. He glanced back, and his stomach dropped. A group of rough-looking men approached. They were white and dressed in tattered clothes, their faces twisted with disdain. Jamal could feel their eyes boring into him, filled with a mix of anger and mockery. He tried to focus on the monkey, but the men's jeers pulled him away from the moment. "Look at this guy. What a loser," one of the men yelled, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Saving a stupid monkey while there's real work to be done. What a joke." Jamal tightened his grip on the monkey as he pulled it closer to safety. He could feel the tiny creature trembling in fear. He looked back at the men, trying to ignore their taunts. "I'm helping him. Can't you see he needs it?" The men laughed, and it sent a chill down Jamal's spine. He could sense their hostility, their need to belittle him. "It's just a monkey, man. Why do you care so much?" another man sneered. Jamal felt anger bubbling inside him. Why was it that some people could be so cruel? It wasn't just about the monkey, it was about the way they looked down on him for caring. With a final heave, Jamal pulled the monkey out of the well and onto solid ground. The little creature was drenched but safe. It clung to Jamal's shirt, shaking all over. He took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and triumph. "You did it, buddy. You're okay now," he said, trying to comfort the trembling monkey. But the men were closing in, their laughter fading as they realized Jamal had actually rescued the monkey. One of them stepped forward, a taller guy with a scruffy beard. "You're really going to keep that thing?" he scoffed, eyeing the monkey with disdain. "What's it to you, huh? It's just an animal." "It's not just an animal. It's a living being." Jamal shot back, feeling a surge of determination. He stood tall, clutching the monkey to his chest. "And I'm not going to let it drown because you think it's not worth saving." The taller man stepped closer, his face twisted in anger. "What do you know about worth, huh? You think that monkey cares about you? You're just wasting your time." Jamal could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. The men were not just attacking the monkey, they were attacking him. It was a familiar feeling, one he had experienced too many times before. People judging him, underestimating him, thinking he wasn't good enough. This time, he wouldn't back down. "Maybe it's not about what the monkey thinks," Jamal said, trying to keep his voice steady. "Maybe it's about doing what's right." The monkey looked up at him, its big eyes filled with trust, and that made Jamal feel strong. The group of men exchanged glances, surprised by Jamal's boldness. "Look at you, all high and mighty. What a hero," one of them mocked, but there was a hint of uncertainty in his voice. They were used to people backing down, but Jamal wasn't going to be one of them. As Jamal stood there, he felt a mix of fear and bravery. The men were still intimidating, their presence heavy in the air, but he could feel the bond forming with the little monkey. It was as if they both understood that they were fighting against something bigger than themselves, prejudice and ignorance. "Why don't you just let that thing go?" the taller man demanded, trying to sound tough. "You're just embarrassing yourself." Jamal glanced at the monkey, who was now snuggling closer to him, as if seeking protection. "I won't abandon it," he said firmly. "You might not understand, but this little guy deserves a chance. Just like anyone else." The men laughed again, but this time, the laughter was nervous. Jamal's conviction was shaking their confidence. He knew he had to keep pushing. "You think it's funny to hurt something that can't fight back," he continued. "That's the real joke here." One of the men stepped back, crossing his arms, as if trying to distance himself from the growing tension. Jamal could sense their discomfort, and it fueled his determination. He had fought against discrimination his whole life, and this moment felt like an extension of that struggle. He wouldn't let anyone make him feel small. Just then, the monkey let out a soft squeak, pulling Jamal's attention back to it. The little creature looked up at him, its eyes filled with gratitude. It was a reminder that their connection was real, that love and compassion could shine through even the darkest situations. "See? Even this little monkey knows what it means to be cared for," Jamal said, raising his chin defiantly. "You guys can mock me all you want, but I know what it feels like to stand up for someone who can't stand up for themselves." Suddenly, one of the men, a heavier guy with a crooked smile, stepped forward, his expression shifting. "You think you're some kind of hero?" he spat. "You're just a loser trying to save a monkey." Jamal felt the sting of those words, but he didn't let it show. Instead, he took a deep breath and focused on the monkey. "No," he replied, his voice steady. "I'm not a loser. I'm someone who believes that every life matters. Just like yours does, even if you don't see it." The taller man shifted his weight, clearly unsure of what to say next. Jamal's heart raced as he realized he had managed to plant a seed of doubt in their minds. For a moment, the mocking laughter stopped, replaced by an awkward silence. It was as if they were questioning their own actions. Then, the heavier man scoffed again, trying to regain his bravado. "Whatever, man. You're wasting your time with that monkey. It's just gonna run away when it gets the chance. Jamal felt a surge of anger but forced himself to stay calm. I'm not worried about that, he said. I'm here for this moment. For this little guy. And that's enough for me. With that, he took a step back from the men, holding the monkey securely. He wasn't afraid anymore. He could feel the strength of their bond, the unspoken understanding that they were both survivors in a world that didn't always show kindness. The men exchanged glances again, their confidence beginning to wane. Come on, let's go, the taller man finally said, gesturing for the others to follow. This isn't worth it. Jamal watched as they turned and walked away, their laughter fading into the distance. He felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had stood his ground, not just for himself, but for the little monkey that had fought so hard to survive. See, he said to the monkey, who was now perched on his shoulder, trembling slightly but with newfound courage. We did it together. The monkey chattered softly, and Jamal laughed, feeling a bond like no other. As he walked away from the well, he couldn't help but think about the lessons learned that day. He had faced a moment of confrontation, and instead of letting it break him, he had used it to stand up for what was right. Just like he would continue to do for himself and others in the future. With the sun setting behind him, casting a warm glow over the path, Jamal felt a sense of hope. The little monkey had found safety, and in doing so, Jamal had discovered a strength he didn't know he had. They would continue to face the world together, hand in paw, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Jamal stood there, heart racing as the group of men approached, their laughter echoing in the trees. The monkey, now safe on his shoulder, trembled against him, as if it could sense the tension in the air. Jamal had just pulled the little creature from the well, saving it from drowning. But now, he felt like he was the one in danger. Look at that, one of the men sneered, a burly figure with a scruffy beard. He's got a pet monkey. What a joke. The other men snickered, their eyes glinting with mockery. Jamal clenched his fists, his heart pounding in his chest. He hated how they made him feel, like he was nothing, just because he had saved an animal. The monkey looked up at Jamal, its big, round eyes full of trust. It was as if it knew that he was its protector, and Jamal felt a rush of warmth. You're okay, he whispered, stroking the monkey's fur. But as the men stepped closer, the warmth turned to ice. They were not here to joke, they were here to intimidate. What's wrong, buddy? The man with the beard taunted, stepping forward. You want to save all the animals now? You think you're some kind of hero? His words dripped with sarcasm, and Jamal could feel his anger boiling. Why did it feel like this was happening to him again? Just let it go, another man chimed in. This one was tall and lanky, with a cruel grin on his face. It's just a stupid monkey. Why do you care so much? Jamal's heart sank at the realization that they didn't see the monkey as a life worth saving, they saw it as a joke. Because it's a life, Jamal shot back, his voice steady despite the fear creeping in. You don't get to decide who deserves help and who doesn't. The men laughed again, but Jamal stood his ground. He couldn't let them win. The burly man stepped closer, invading Jamal's space. You really think you're making a difference? It's just a wild animal. It's not like you're saving a person or something. His tone was sharp, and Jamal could feel the anger bubbling up inside him. Maybe you should take a look in the mirror, Jamal said, surprising even himself. You want to talk about what's valuable? Look at yourself. The burly man paused, his expression changing for just a moment, but the laughter from the others quickly drowned out Jamal's words. Why don't you just go home, little man, the tall one said, stepping forward with a smirk. No one wants you here. Their words felt like daggers, and Jamal's pulse quickened. He glanced around, but there was no one else in sight. Just him, the monkey, and these men who seemed to relish the power they held over him. Jamal took a deep breath, determined not to back down. The monkey on his shoulder let out a soft chirp, and he felt a surge of protection for the little creature. This was more than just a rescue, it was about standing up for what was right, no matter how hard it got. Why don't you all leave us alone? Jamal asked, trying to keep his voice calm. We didn't do anything to you. But the men just laughed harder. You're nothing but a fool for that monkey, the burly man sneered. Just a fool. The word stung, but Jamal refused to let them see how much they affected him. He felt the warmth of the sun on his back and thought about all the times he had been made to feel less than. It didn't matter if they thought he was foolish, what mattered was the bond he had with this little creature. Suddenly, the monkey clutched Jamal's shoulder tightly, as if sensing the rising tension. Jamal's heart sank as he realized he couldn't let these men hurt him or the monkey. You know what, he said, his voice rising slightly. I'm going to take care of this monkey. It deserves a chance. Just like everyone else. The men looked at each other, their smiles fading as they realized Jamal was serious. For a moment, there was silence, and Jamal took a step back, still holding onto the monkey. He could feel its tiny heartbeat against his neck, and it gave him strength. Listen, man, the tall one said, his tone turning colder. You don't know what you're messing with. That monkey doesn't belong to you. Maybe you should think about who you are trying to control, Jamal shot back. The burly man stepped forward again, and Jamal's heart raced. He felt a wave of fear wash over him, but he stood firm. Why don't you just go back to where you came from? The burly man growled, a dangerous edge in his voice. You're not wanted here. Jamal's breath hitched. It was more than just about the monkey, it was about how he was treated as a black man. You don't get to say who belongs where, Jamal replied, his voice steady. I'm not going anywhere. The monkey chirped again, and Jamal felt a surge of warmth. It was a reminder that he had done the right thing by saving it. Suddenly, the tall man took a step closer, and Jamal prepared for the worst. Why don't you just hand over the monkey? He sneered. I'm sure we could find a better home for it. No way, Jamal said firmly. This monkey deserves a good life, just like any other animal. It's not some toy you can just take. The men exchanged glances, and Jamal could sense their anger boiling beneath the surface. What's your name, anyway? The burly man asked, his eyes narrowing. Jamal, he replied without hesitation. And I won't let you take this monkey. Jamal, the tall man repeated, as if testing the name. I think you've made a big mistake. Jamal felt a cold chill run down his spine. He could see the menace in their eyes, and he knew he had to protect the monkey at all costs. I'm not afraid of you, he said, trying to project confidence even though fear gripped him. Just then, the monkey jumped down from Jamal's shoulder and landed on the ground. It looked up at him, as if waiting for him to make a move. No! Jamal shouted, instinctively reaching out. Come back! But the monkey didn't listen. It scurried towards the bushes, digging furiously in the dirt. Jamal's heart raced as he realized the little creature was searching for something. The men looked at each other, confused and irritated. What is it doing? The burly man asked, scratching his head. I don't know, Jamal replied, his focus on the monkey. But we need to get it back. Before Jamal could take a step, the monkey suddenly pulled out a small, dirt-covered box from the ground. Jamal's heart skipped a beat. And if you like the story, remember to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. The sight of the box sent a shockwave through him. What was it doing? What was inside? The men's laughter died down as they stepped closer, curiosity replacing their taunts. Jamal's pulse quickened. The little monkey had unearthed something important, something that might change everything. Look at that, the tall man exclaimed, his eyes widening. What do you think is inside? I don't know, Jamal said, his heart pounding. But we need to find out. The monkey turned back to Jamal, presenting the box with a proud look, as if it knew it had done something special. Jamal knelt down slowly, reaching out to the monkey. You did great, little buddy, he said, his voice full of admiration. The burly man stepped forward, his expression shifting from amusement to greed. Let me see that, he demanded, reaching for the box. Stay back. Jamal warned, standing protectively in front of the monkey. "This is mine. We found it together." "Who do you think you are?" the burly man sneered. "You think that monkey is going to share that treasure with you? It's just an animal." Jamal felt a rush of defiance. "It may be just an animal to you, but to me, it's a friend. And we're in this together." He reached for the box, lifting it carefully. The dirt was caked on thick, but he could see a lock on the front. Jamal's heart raced. What was this? What secrets lay within? The men circled around him, their eyes glinting with greed. Jamal could sense their desire for whatever was hidden inside the box, but he felt a growing sense of protectiveness over both the monkey and the treasure. "You don't need to take anything from me," he said, standing tall. "This is ours. We'll figure this out together." Jamal glanced down at the monkey, who was now peering curiously at the box. He felt a sense of connection, a shared adventure that went beyond what he had ever experienced. The burly man's face twisted in anger. "You don't have what it takes to keep that treasure. Hand it over." "No way," Jamal replied firmly, clutching the box closer to him. "You're not getting anything from me. You don't get to decide what's valuable." The tension hung thick in the air as Jamal stared down the men, his heart racing. He felt the weight of their disdain, but he also felt the strength of his own resolve. He wasn't just fighting for a monkey or a box, he was standing up for himself, for anyone who had ever felt small. "Let's go, men," the tall one finally said, his voice dripping with disdain. "This guy doesn't know what he's gotten himself into." As they turned to leave, Jamal felt a wave of relief wash over him. He had stood his ground. But the moment was bittersweet. He realized that standing up against their prejudice was only the beginning. He looked down at the monkey, who was now sitting calmly, and whispered, "We're going to be okay." With the treasure box still in his hands, Jamal knew that this was a turning point. He had saved a life today, and in doing so, he had found a purpose of his own. As he looked into the forest, he felt a sense of hope blooming in his chest, ready to face whatever came next. Jamal stood there, heart racing, as the monkey suddenly leaped off his shoulder and darted toward a patch of bushes. It was as if the little creature had spotted something important, and Jamal's curiosity piqued. "Hey, wait," he called out, watching the monkey's every move. The forest around him was still, except for the rustling leaves and the distant sound of birds. The earlier commotion from the men seemed to fade into the background as Jamal focused on the tiny animal. He could hardly believe that just moments ago, he had been trying to save this little creature from drowning, and now it was moving with purpose, digging energetically into the soft earth. "What are you doing, little guy?" Jamal murmured, taking a cautious step closer. He wanted to see what had caught the monkey's attention. The men who had been taunting him stood back, their laughter fading as they watched the strange scene unfold. Jamal felt a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. Whatever the monkey had found could be important, and he wanted to be there when it happened. The monkey continued to dig, its tiny hands working furiously. Jamal felt a sense of urgency. He didn't want to let the men distract him. "Come on, what's in there?" he whispered, bending down to get a better look. The monkey seemed completely focused, pulling away small clumps of dirt, revealing something shiny beneath. As Jamal got closer, he realized it wasn't just dirt the monkey was digging through, it was an old, weathered box partially buried in the ground. His heart skipped a beat. "Is that a treasure chest?" he thought, disbelief washing over him. Could this little monkey have uncovered something so incredible? The men were quiet now, their earlier bravado replaced by curiosity and confusion. They exchanged glances, and Jamal could see the gears turning in their heads. What had they stumbled upon? For a moment, their jeers and taunts fell silent as they became spectators to this unexpected discovery. "Let me help you," Jamal said to the monkey, not wanting to frighten it. He gently reached out, carefully brushing aside some dirt to reveal the box more clearly. It was small, about the size of a shoebox, and covered in grime and leaves, but he could see that it had intricate designs carved into its surface. "What are you hiding?" he said softly, feeling a rush of excitement. The monkey paused, looking up at him with its big, bright eyes as if waiting for Jamal to take the lead. It was a moment of trust between them, one that felt significant. The little creature had saved him, and now he was about to help it uncover something hidden. With a few more careful movements, Jamal managed to free the box from the earth. He wiped away the dirt and leaves, revealing more of its design. It looked old, maybe even ancient. "This is amazing," he breathed, glancing back at the men. Their expressions were shifting from mockery to a mix of shock and intrigue. "What's that?" "Just a dumb old box," one of the men scoffed, trying to regain some of their earlier bravado. But Jamal could see the gleam in their eyes. They were just as curious as he was. The tension from earlier had turned into something else entirely, a shared moment of wonder, even if the men didn't want to admit it. "Let's see what's inside," Jamal said, feeling a surge of confidence. He carefully lifted the lid, heart pounding with anticipation. As the box creaked open, a cloud of dust floated into the air, and Jamal peered inside. His eyes widened. Inside the box lay a collection of items, old coins, tarnished jewelry, and what looked like a few weathered papers. Jamal picked up a coin, its surface rough under his fingers, and turned it over. It was heavy, and the design was intricate, suggesting it was more than just a trinket. "This must be valuable," he thought, excitement buzzing in his chest. The monkey hopped closer, curiously inspecting the box, its little nose twitching. Jamal chuckled softly, feeling a warmth in his heart. "You found a treasure, buddy," he said, a smile breaking across his face. But as he continued to sift through the contents, a thought struck him. How had this box ended up here? What was its story? The men had edged closer, their expressions shifting from mockery to intrigue. One of them, a tall man with a scruffy beard, leaned over Jamal's shoulder. "Hey, what do you think that stuff is worth?" he asked, his tone less confrontational. "I don't know," Jamal replied, his mind racing. "But it looks like it's been here for a long time. Someone must have buried it." "Maybe it's cursed," another man joked weakly, trying to lighten the mood. But Jamal could see that they were genuinely interested now. Their earlier disdain had faded, replaced by curiosity. Suddenly, Jamal's thoughts turned serious again. He had always been aware of how people perceived him as a black man, especially in situations like this. He had experienced discrimination in the past, and he knew that some people didn't believe he could do anything worthwhile. But standing here with this treasure, he felt a sense of pride. He had saved a life, and now he might have stumbled upon something significant. "Let's see what else is in there," he urged, looking back into the box. He reached for the papers, carefully pulling them out. As he unfolded the first sheet, his breath caught in his throat. The paper was brittle, and he could barely make out the writing. But it looked like a map, maybe even a treasure map. "Guys, look at this," he exclaimed, holding it up for everyone to see. The men leaned closer, and Jamal could sense their excitement. This could lead us to something even bigger. For a moment, they were all united by the possibility of adventure. The men who had once mocked him were now caught up in the excitement, their earlier malice replaced by curiosity. It was a strange turn of events, and Jamal felt a mix of emotions. But even as he felt a thrill of excitement, a shadow of doubt crept in. He couldn't shake off the feeling that this treasure hunt could change things, and not just for him. Would the men turn against him again if they found something valuable? Would they see him as competition rather than a partner in this discovery? Jamal decided to push those thoughts aside for now. This was a chance to explore, to discover, and to prove that he was more than what others thought of him. "Let's find out where this leads," he said, his voice filled with determination. The monkey, now standing beside the box, seemed to nod in agreement, as if it understood the importance of this moment. Together, they were on the brink of something exciting, a new adventure waiting just around the corner. "All right, what do we need to do?" one of the men asked, looking at Jamal with a newfound respect. "Well, we need to study the map closely," Jamal replied, unfurling it further. "It might show us where to dig next." As they gathered around, studying the map, Jamal couldn't help but feel a sense of camaraderie growing among them. It was unexpected, but he knew he had to stay alert. This was still a group of men who had shown aggression earlier, and he couldn't forget that. "Let's work together," Jamal said, trying to encourage a team spirit. "We can share whatever we find." The men nodded, some still cautious, but there was a shift in the atmosphere. They were no longer just a group of strangers, they were explorers about to embark on a treasure hunt together. With the monkey leading the way, they followed the map's directions, heading deeper into the forest. Each step felt significant, and Jamal couldn't shake off the feeling that this was not just about treasure but about something much deeper, a chance to bridge divides and show that kindness could overcome hostility. The sun began to set, casting a warm glow through the trees, and Jamal felt a surge of hope. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it. Together with the monkey and even the men who had once mocked him, he was on a journey to discover not just hidden treasures but also the power of unity and understanding. Jamal's heart raced as he watched the little monkey dash toward the bushes. He could hardly believe what was happening. One moment, he was struggling to save a drowning animal, and the next, the monkey seemed to sense something important just beneath the surface of the ground. Jamal took a step closer, his curiosity piqued. What was the monkey looking for? The rough laughter of the group of men faded into the background as Jamal's attention locked onto the monkey. The creature dug fiercely, its small paws moving quickly through the dirt. Jamal knelt down, trying to get a better look. "What are you doing, little guy?" he murmured, excitement bubbling up inside him. As the monkey dug deeper, Jamal couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency. The men had been mocking him, but now their laughter had stopped. They, too, seemed captivated by the scene unfolding before them. Jamal sensed that something significant was about to happen, and he was determined to stay close, ready to support the monkey in any way he could. With every pawful of dirt that flew into the air, Jamal felt a thrill. The monkey was relentless, scratching and digging as if it had a mission. Jamal watched, holding his breath, wondering what the monkey could possibly find. The ground was hard, but the monkey didn't give up. "You got this," Jamal encouraged, feeling a connection with the brave little creature. Then, suddenly, the monkey stopped and began to pull something out of the ground. It looked like a small box, dirty and old. Jamal's eyes widened in disbelief. "What is that?" he whispered, leaning in closer. The monkey tugged harder, and with a final heave, the box came free. It was small and wooden, with strange carvings on the sides that looked ancient. The monkey set the box down and looked up at Jamal, as if waiting for him to take the next step. Jamal felt a surge of excitement and curiosity wash over him. "Should I open it?" he asked, unsure if the monkey could understand him. The little creature nodded as if it were encouraging him. Taking a deep breath, Jamal gently lifted the box and brushed the dirt off. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. What could possibly be inside? His mind raced with possibilities. Would it be treasure? Or maybe something important that belonged to someone else? As he carefully lifted the lid, a cloud of dust floated up, and he squinted at the contents. Inside, he found old coins, glinting gold and silver in the sunlight. They were unlike any coins he had seen before. Jamal's jaw dropped. "Whoa! This is amazing!" He couldn't believe his eyes. The coins looked ancient, like they had been buried for years. But that wasn't all. There were also pieces of jewelry, a tarnished silver bracelet, a couple of necklaces, and some rings. Each item sparkled as if it held a story of its own. Jamal's mind raced with thoughts of who might have owned these things and how they ended up buried in the ground. Just then, he felt a shift in the air. The group of men, who had been watching quietly, suddenly surged forward. Their eyes were wide with shock, and for a moment, Jamal felt a mix of fear and adrenaline. He knew these men had been looking down on him, but now they seemed interested in what he had found. One of the men, a tall figure with a scruffy beard, stepped forward, his face pale as he realized the significance of the treasure. "What is that?" he demanded, his tone sharp and aggressive. "You shouldn't have found that." Jamal felt a wave of anger rise inside him. "Why not?" I rescued this monkey, and I found it fair and square, he shot back, standing tall. He wasn't going to let these men intimidate him. The discrimination he had faced many times before flashed in his mind, and he felt an urge to stand his ground. The men glanced at each other, their expressions revealing a mix of fear and envy. Jamal could see that they didn't expect him to find something so valuable. The tall man stepped even closer, his eyes narrowing. That doesn't belong to you. You don't know what you're dealing with. Jamal's heart raced as he tightened his grip on the box. He wasn't going to let them take it from him. And you think I'm just going to hand it over? This monkey and I found it together. It's ours. He felt a rush of bravery, knowing that he had done something good by rescuing the little creature. The monkey climbed back onto Jamal's shoulder, looking at him with big, trusting eyes. Jamal felt a surge of protectiveness. He wanted to shield this little life from the ugly world around them. You can't take this from me, he said firmly, holding the box close to his chest. The tall man scoffed, stepping back and folding his arms. You really think a monkey can protect you? He looked around at his friends, who snickered at his words. Jamal felt a mix of anger and determination. It's not just about the monkey. It's about respect. You think you can bully me because of the color of my skin? I'm not afraid of you. A tense silence fell over the group, and Jamal could see uncertainty flicker in their eyes. For a moment, it felt like the world had stopped. He could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him, the air charged with emotion. The men had underestimated him, and he was ready to prove them wrong. Then, one of the other men, a shorter guy with a cap pulled low, said something that sent a chill down Jamal's spine. You don't know what that box really is, do you? His voice was low and menacing. You might want to think twice before you keep digging into something you don't understand. Jamal's stomach twisted. What did he mean? What are you talking about? He demanded, trying to stay calm. He felt a sense of dread creeping in. The men were hiding something, and he needed to figure out what it was. The tall man chuckled darkly. Let's just say that box has a history, and it's not a good one. You might want to leave it alone before it brings you trouble. Jamal felt a surge of confusion. What kind of trouble could a simple box cause? But he wasn't going to let their words scare him. You think you can intimidate me? I saved this monkey's life, and now I'm not backing down. If this box means something to someone, I'll find out who. And if you like the story, remember to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell. With that, Jamal turned away from the men, clutching the box tightly. He started walking back toward the path, determined to leave the confrontation behind. But the monkey seemed restless on his shoulder, its little hands gripping tightly. Jamal could feel its heartbeat, steady and strong. As he walked, he could hear the men murmuring behind him, their voices filled with anger and disbelief. Jamal quickened his pace, feeling a mix of fear and exhilaration. He had stood up for himself, and it felt good, but he knew he wasn't safe yet. He glanced at the monkey, who looked up at him with trust in its eyes. We'll figure this out together, he whispered, feeling a deep connection with the little creature. Jamal didn't know what lay ahead, but he was ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Suddenly, he felt a sense of resolve. This box could hold secrets that needed to be uncovered, and he was determined to find out what it all meant. Jamal took a deep breath, the cool air filling his lungs. He had rescued a life today, and now it was time to protect their future together. As they made their way back through the forest, Jamal knew he had to act quickly. He needed answers, and he wouldn't stop until he found them. The monkey clung to him, and together, they headed toward the unknown, ready for whatever adventure awaited them next. And if you like the story, remember to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell.